My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Nine Nation? It's your boy Roger, and it's been far too long since we've seen each other. Well, you've seen me. I don't really get to see you, but we're back. We've had babies. We've had trips. We've had all kinds of stuff going on, and unfortunately, you haven't had us, but we're here. As a reminder, welcome to the Knighted Ones podcast, episode number 132. Crazy. We are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst, and hoops player, an infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star shooting the breeze talking UCF sports. Remember to like and follow us on IG, YouTube, and check out the 70-plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle. Plus X, forgot about that, Big 12 Huddle, 4th in Florida, and everything else. So, we've been gone entirely too long. I won't tell you how we had babies. Actually, somebody else did. But we're excited. We're going to be talking a little bit about recruiting. We're going to be talking about eligibility changes. We haven't talked about that yet. Our own challenge to eligibility, and a former Kansas football player. The Patch is back, but in a different way than you may think. Cindy is in trouble. Oh, take that, Bear Kitties. And Stadium Tours and Natty Champs are back. So super excited to talk a little bit about the stadium. We got some folks that got stadium tours. And as always, we'll always come back to your comments. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring back several members of the crew. But to start with, the one, the only UCF football updates.
Hey, I'm back.
Alan Levin. Alan started the show without a hat, so I don't have to ask him for the hair flip. Just do the hair flip, bro. If you're wondering, the reason his hair is so out of whack is because he has been on baby duty for the better part of, 4 or 5 weeks now?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. So there were more bags under his eyes, but that's why he wasn't here to join us for the show. He looks much better. His hair's out of place. But other than that, he's good. In addition to that, last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
Nixon 5!
Okay, we just removed him off the stage. We don't talk about the Knicks on this show. Golly. All right, I'm welcoming him back. He is back from his European vacation. Oh my gosh, here he goes again. Congratulations. I don't know what's going on with our Tragic. We did some more trading, so we'll see what happens if they figure it out next year. They were showing some signs, and then New York ran all over them before the playoffs. So let's welcome back. Do you have anything to share other than Euro Disney is better than it used to be?
You know what? Yes, I do. I could tell you at the top of random UCF connections during my trip, or I can tell you later. You choose.
Well, let's do a little bit later, but I think your mic's a little quiet right now, so you may want to move closer to the mic, or the mic closer to you, whichever you prefer. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start at the top of the hour with recruiting. And there's lots of things that's happened with recruiting lately. When it comes to recruiting, there's been changes in NIL. There's been changes in the number of transfer portals. There's been changes in the number of years. Oh, he's back back in black. I like it. The number of years, and there's been changes in getting rid of red shirts. So it's been an interesting dynamic. The latest of which, if you haven't talked about it, let's talk about what the eligibility rules are today. So as of today, as of a couple of weeks ago, every student athlete receives 5 years of eligibility to compete in 5 seasons. Now, that's different than what we're used to, because before we had the COVID year and that kind of threw everything out of whack. We still have the JUCO challenges that are coming on. Diego Pavia, how do you say his name? Pavia?
Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah.
That guy who'll never throw a football in the NFL had kind of changed the game. So now the clock starts with their first full-time enrollment on the academic year or their 19th birthday. No more red shirts, no more medical red shirts. So if you get hurt and you're out for the rest of the season, you're done. So what does this do? Is this a good thing or bad thing for high school recruiting? Because with everything that happened, you know, with the COVID year and all of that, that kind of threw that back. Then you had the NIL going on. So do you guys think this is good or bad? Alan, I'd love for you to take us from the top.
Is it good or bad? The 5 years rule change, basically?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I think we've been talking about, you know, ever since this new wave of college football with NIL and the transfer portal and everything that all happened at once that kind of changed college football forever. And a lot of people, a lot of longtime fans like myself, have felt pretty negative about the changes. Not, you know, the kids getting money. It's just that combined with everything that happened at once that really made this whole free agency nonstop and all the different things. And one of the craziest things was obviously the fact if you play over 4 games, you know, you can't transfer. So what was that leading to? You'd have key players or guys that could be a key player in the future, but they're young, you know, basically sitting out so they don't lose their year of eligibility. And one of the things that was suggested online from plenty of people over Twitter, big time college football writers down to coaches, I think even Jim Harbaugh might have said this when he was still at Michigan, was to just have a blanket 5-year policy. And yeah, I think that's absolutely the best move. You know, I don't like the fact that someone could just be like, oh, I played 4 games. Like we had it with Xavier Townsend, you know, guys like that. And, you know, recent years with UCF where I'm sitting out, and it really throws off the season. I mean, you're already dealing with all of the fact that you have to re-recruit your roster every single season, and you have no idea what your roster is going to look like from year to year, which is the only sport really the only sport in the world where that happens, I guess, is in college athletics now, specifically more football and basketball. So the fact that, you know, that kind of eliminates that part in the sense of that, you know, if we know guys don't have to worry about losing year of eligibility because they're just going to have 5 years, I think that's a huge net gain, net benefit for college athletics. I mean, there's still a lot of things I think to fix with this new era of college football that have hurt the sport, but that's a really big step in the right direction. I love that move. I think it at least helps with a little bit more consistency in season. You don't have to worry as much about guys being like, I'm dipping out after the first quarter of the season, which was happening. So I love the move, and I think that was absolutely the correct thing to do. So I'm really happy that passed.
Yeah. Josh, what do you think?
So I like consistency and rules within all of these different areas. So we don't have a lot of consistency right now. A lot of things are all over the place. We you know, certain conferences are doing this, certain conferences are doing that, certain, you know, X, Y, and Z. The reality is anything that gets some uniformity gets us to a place where we can all play by the same rules within reason, understanding money is different in different areas. So I like having more structure in what is a very unstructured process right now. It is intriguing of about that what are they going to do for the existing people? There's that piece. Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, anything that brings overall consistency to college athletics is going to be good from now forward, forgetting the fact that the money issues are the money issues for everyone except for 2 conferences.
All right, so MD Knight says Josh got the monster news early and was already spreading the Big 12 across all 100 countries that they distribute to. That's awesome. Next up, he says more years for current college players is bad for high school players. Yes, and to borrow Josh, I think it's a new paradigm, and I think it takes it out of the court system, right? So the other part about this is with NIL, I think that it really doesn't change much. As far as the high school players, that with NIL, that's really what changed it, because it's no longer the NFL or bust anymore, right? It's NIL, and how long can I stay in college football to keep earning those dollars. So I think that was the major change. As we've seen, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, as to where we are in recruiting relative to everybody else. High school players actually are still being picked up by the top power schools, right? That train hasn't slowed down. If anything, they're trying to push the limits as to how much they can spend. Beyond that, we've seen the return of the collectives, and those were originally supposed to go away. They come back. So now you've got people spending upwards of 50 million plus on rosters for football. Obviously, UCF cannot, with its current state, compete with that, right? So what does that mean? I don't think it closes doors for high school players. I think in the power leagues, maybe. I think everywhere else, it just means that they have more opportunity for upward mobility out of the other leagues. So
we're seeing this for a while already, right? I mean, high school players were already kind of getting pushed out with the portal. Like, most coaches are going for the experienced player that's been in a college program, been in the college weight room, and is not some raw freshman, right? So this has been happening. Yeah, it probably does intensify that a bit. But like you said, Roger, I mean, these guys are going to be now, instead of getting a scholarship at an FBS or a Power 5, it just knocks them down a notch. They either become a walk-on or they get a scholarship at the FCS level, and they get plucked up just like we've been seeing for years now. I mean, how many times has UCF taken an FCS, even a D2 player, more than I've ever seen in any other year? Even in the beginning of the transfer portal, it wasn't like that. Now we're seeing, I don't want to say an even split, but there's been at least 2 to 5 FCS or D2 players taken in every transfer cycle. So that's just what's going to happen. It kind of does suck for the high school player, but I mean, if they're good enough, they're going to get called up to the big leagues.
Well, and I think that at the end of the day, that's what was happening anyway. We're just codifying it, right? I think we're structuring the upward mobility for these players, and something you said about in recruiting, and specifically with UCF, who's now ranked number 65 overall with 14 commits. Baylor and OSU are the only 2 schools that are below us as far as recruiting is concerned. We're averaging, according to On3, 84.4, and 87 is our highest 3-star. So all 3 stars across the board. And we're 14th in the Big 12. So what does that mean for UCF? Well, Scott Frost reiterated recently that, exactly to your point, our strategy is to try to pick up players that have experience on the field, that show flashes on the field, and try to bring them here and elevate them, right? George O'Leary was doing that with Alabama players. How many Alabama players went to Alabama, sat, then came to UCF, transferred, and had success at UCF? There's several of them. Trey, if he was on tonight, he's babysitting.
He's parenting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
He's parenting, parenting. No, he's parenting with his evil-eyed child. We saw video of this, and it was scary. It was scary. But he can speak to that even at that time when he was playing in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And we put that to good use while we were also in the AAC. So does this change anything for UCF? I think it changes the focus, at least with this coach. I think we have to change the focus because we're limited in the dollars that we can spread around. So I don't think it's the 5 for 5, more so as the NIL limits us. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I think that's still yet to be determined. We did get a heck of a quarterback this year from JMU. We'll see how that turns out. Hopefully, a lot better than the merry-go-round that we had last year. So I think that's the build process for that second tier in college football, and UCF right now is in the second tier in the Power Four with regard to our ability to recruit. So we've taken away, another thing Scott Frost said in media days that happened this week was that with NIL, there is no more home field advantage for high school recruits coming out of high school. They will go where the money is. Now, if something happens and they sit on the bench, then they might get homesick, and then it becomes an advantage. So it's, again, all of our advantages that we had in the past are now in the portal and not at the high school level, other than making sure we get our faces out there and develop those recruits earlier. MD Knight says, MD Knight brought something up. He asked whether this was across the board for the 5 for 5. It is, and his thought was, it's even bigger for baseball, men's basketball. Men's basketball, yes. We had a player recently that should be playing on our roster this year that didn't get that extra year of eligibility because of the 2020 COVID year when they joined men's basketball, etc. However, we welcome back some folks on the men's basketball program that are going to enjoy that extra year of eligibility. Baseball, though, I don't think it will, because they're going to more than likely leave their junior year, or at least start evaluating leaving their junior year, at worst their senior year, so the fourth year of college. The key to this rule is if they enroll, not if they play. If they enroll, the clock starts. When they turn 19, the clock starts. So you could be, in those two scenarios, you could either be enrolled in college, not play, right? You don't have to be play. You don't even have to be part of the team. If you enroll in college, that clock starts for 5 years from that date. So if you're 19, if you're a late bloomer and you go to college at 19, your clock starts at that date. So I don't think it matters for college baseball, because the players that are going to play college baseball are either going to take the higher NIL dollar, or they're going to start looking at their eligibility status for the draft starting their junior year. So I think baseball, it's not a big a deal. I think the bigger deal for baseball has been that we've got more scholarships to hand out, because we haven't had those in the past. So are you guys worried at all that we are 14th in the Big 12 in high school recruiting, or no?
To me, it doesn't feel like anything new. I know under Gus, on paper, the recruiting classes were better in terms of like the ranking. There was that point where we were in the 30s or 40s before the class had closed out. And then, I think a couple of classes ended up in the maybe high 30s, low 40s. And we're all super excited about it. Then towards the end of his tenure and now through 2 years of Frost, it's been in the 60s, the 70s. Year one, we looked at it as like, oh, Frost didn't have a lot of time. He was trying to save some recruits that were Gus's. Honestly, for the entirety of UCF football, and since, I don't know how long recruiting rankings have been around, this has kind of been the life of UCF fan. I mean, there's been a lot of times where we're in anywhere, I would say, from the high 50s to the low 80s. Not a huge change. Even when Frost was the coach the first time around, we were somewhere in that range. And look what it turned out. To me, it comes down to development, which was the big knock on Gus. He didn't do it. Now in this transfer portal era, obviously development gets a lot harder when you're already taking experienced guys, and the ones that are young may just end up transferring if they're not getting playing time, or they blow up and a bigger team comes and plucks them. So no, I don't really look at the high school recruiting class ranking number that much anymore. Like, sure, if we were like in the top 15 or top 20, I'd be like super excited, because that'd be something brand new for UCF. But as a whole, I'm not really putting too much weight to it, because like you said, Roger, Frost is putting a preference on the transfer portal. So I'd rather look at those rankings or how those guys pan out. Because at the end of the day, I only think we need a couple of these high school guys to really, hit and hopefully retain them. Because I'd rather save a lot of that budget to re-recruit those 2 or 3 that maybe pan out, plus getting transfers from other schools, and then retaining just the older guys on our roster too that are already good. So I'm not super concerned with that number, especially with the high school recruiting continuing to be kind of de-emphasized. So to me, and plus it's really not that new. UCF is always in that range. It'd be great to have like a top 10 recruiting class, but you see now the few teams left that put a preference on high school recruiting, like the Clemsons of the world, like it's not really panning out. Like you need to have these transfers that are ultimately the ones that actually matter on your team. So it doesn't mean you completely give up on high school recruiting. We don't want like the worst to be the worst in the FBS, but for somewhere in the middle of the pack in the country, even if it's at the bottom of the Power 4 leagues, I'm okay with it, because I really don't think you need a star-studded high school recruiting class to have success anymore.
Go ahead, Josh.
Can I make an analogy that you got to give me 2 seconds and I'll get into it? The Knicks didn't win through the draft. Let me get to college football. There is a new era of college football. You can find diamonds in the rough from existing efforts from other people and build what you need to. Do I think the top creme de la creme of high school recruits are worth it? Absolutely. And if we get some of those people, awesome. But we don't have to diamond mine through only high school anymore.
Right.
And so in a similar way where I think the NBA overall is changing a bit based off of new rules, second apron, and new ideologies, I think college football is also changing in that similar way, not exactly the same, but in a different way than what we're used to. So being 14th out of 16th with on high school recruits and recruiting rankings or any of that could mean nothing if we kill it. Now, if we're sitting here at 4-8 again, well, maybe it was the right. We can play either side of that. So I do think that these new rules have begat new changes, and we're trying to work with the cards we're dealt and the rules that surround it as it lives right now. So, honestly, would I like to see it as someone that educates students and enjoys the student athlete being a part of the university process that we used to have? Sure, but I think we're beyond that, sadly.
Well, I think that we've got a double hamstring here. We got both hands tied behind our back, right?
Yeah.
The problem with your analogy, Josh, to me is for professional sports, there's 2 things that happens. 1, you have a salary cap. 2, you share revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have an even playing field when it comes to that. Also, fair. In college football, you've seen this. SMU went from buying their way into the AAC to winning in the AAC because they had the bankroll to spend, right? So they could win through the portal. UCF can be competitive in, how should I say this? Could be competitive in the B team transfer portal for the most part, with a few A team players that they can buy, right?
Yeah.
So, and this isn't basketball. It's not 5 players, so you can buy 3 players, and then all of a sudden, you're competitive, right? It doesn't work that way with football. So that's part of the problem. Part of that is, was supposed to be handled with the $20 million cap, but it's not. The second part about that is high school. There's also not currently a cap on how often and when a high school player could transfer. So if you go the high school route and you spend your NIL money on the high school route as opposed to the transfer route, then you always run the risk of people transferring the next year, or not sticking around. Because one of the things with high school, they need a year. We talked about it ad nauseum with Trey and myself, having played. The speed of the game is completely different from high school to college, plus the weight program that goes along with it, right? So if they're not going to stick around, if you spend a bunch of money on somebody coming out of high school and bet on them, there's no guarantees that they stick around. So you've got both of your hands tied behind your back. So would you rather? So I think this is a result of, more of a we have to versus we want to. And that's why we're picking at least 2 JUCO players a year that we're bringing up that are high-level JUCO players that we're bringing up because they're cheap and they're high-quality football players that you've seen play at a high level. And we're not talking about like top 3. We're talking about the best in XYZ coming to UCF, and we're paying them money. And they've been successful here, right? So, yes, and back to my original preference. Whatever I was saying. Back to what I was originally saying. Yes, but out of necessity and because we're playing the hands that we dealt right now. So I'm not as worried about high school because the likelihood of them sticking around or not. If they're 3 stars, they're not going to command the biggest dollar amount, and they're more likely to stick around with your program for at least a couple of years, which gives them time to develop. However, this 5-year rule also puts pressure on them to maximize, especially if they get injured, maximizing the NIL that they can get. Lastly, I do agree that it takes away the one big thing that we saw, which was people sitting out of games. And we were we were the poster child for that with some of our teams under Gus Malzahn, where guys would just shut it down towards the end of the year. You also saw that with basketball. So no matter what, they have no incentive not to keep playing unless they're trying to avoid injury for the NFL or whatever, at which point they're probably 5 years in anyway. So, for football, I think we're where we are because where we can be competitive. And, we need a few things to go right for it to make sense. And for high school recruiting, we just have to trust them in the process. I think it's more important for coaching at that point and development in the high school side because you're taking those 3 stars that have potential. And most of them, let's be real, are not 4 stars because of either size or speed. We're not seeing 6'3", 6'4" linebackers unless they're transfer linebackers, right? But none out of high school. So they're either 6'1", 6'2", speed guys, whatever. They have violent tendencies. We're taking chances on those guys to be able to develop and produce at UCF, and assuming we have a better chance of keeping them more than 1 year, throughout this process. So that's kind of my thing. Am I worried about it? No, because I don't think we can. I think this is the best strategy that we have. I don't think there's much else we can do. So buckle down. Coaching staff needs to continue to develop. I do think we have a stellar defensive coordinator. I told you that since he first got here. Everybody poo-pooed him, said, oh, he lost at USC. Well, he was kind of handed a crappy deal there. And what Scott Frost highlighted in our in his presser was basically that our media day presser. Yeah. That, the backfield is really strong. He feels really good with the secondary in the defense. We do have to see how Sincere Edwards, how healthy he is, and to see if that D-line can step up, because we did lose some pieces there that were really, really important. On a side note, MD Knight says, new ESPN MLB prospects ranking has Willie 25th. Willie deserves it. He has one of the sweetest strokes in college baseball. So that's exciting for him, and I hope he does really, really well. Okay, next rule change that I kind of want to talk about is basically save the college football, the SAVE Act, saving college football. What do you guys think? Do you think that's going to pass? Number one. And number two, if it is, do you think freezing the Power Four is a good thing for UCF long term or a bad thing for UCF long term in general? What do you think?
So can you give some like context? I'll explain it a little bit.
So let me ask a question. Are you talking about like the Protect College Sports Act from back in May with the federal framework for NIL, athlete protections, competitive fairness?
Well, not all of that. It's not approved yet. So not all of that is made. It's been edited already, but the primary thing I want to focus on is the movement within the Power Four. They moved it up so that anybody who makes over $700 million in revenue per year cannot acquire schools or change conferences. So that means right now with the Big 12 and what they're making this year on the new contract, that means the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, and the ACC in its current format, when this rule goes in effect, because I do think it will be passed. They've already told the SEC and the Big 10 to kick rocks. When this goes into effect, do you think the lack of upward mobility is a good thing for UCF or a bad thing for UCF?
I think it all depends on cash, right? I mean, if back to your salary cap thing, if we're all able to generate the same revenue or similar revenue, or if there is a salary cap for all that, I like the conference. Like, look, I mean, magic wand, our school gets started. Our school will get started, what, 100 years ago, and we'd be part of the SEC. But that's not reality. I'd rather be able to drive to Athens or to Baton Rouge or whatnot to go to a game. But in all reality, that's not reality.
Well, so let me just to add something to that. Rich Rodriguez, West Virginia's rebirth as college football coach, he said today that he, in his mindset, if this goes into effect, he wants the redistribution of regionality in the Power Four conferences.
I mean, and if you didn't tie that to media deals and those things, I agree with that. The conferences don't necessarily make sense, but neither does college football anymore from a 90s classical perspective. So I agreed, but I'd say at this point, it seems like that's a pretty big win for the ACC rather than anything else. I don't think other conferences are going to start really grabbing too much of the Big 12 minus like a Kansas or a few others, being honest. I don't, and specifically the SEC and the Big 10, I see them decimating the ACC if they have the ability to, because Virginia, North Carolina, not from sports, but from a part academic, part sports perspective.
Academics? What are you talking about? If it was academics, West Virginia would be in a conference with like Boise State or something. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. This is, I feel like UCF, since we're a UCF podcast, is not going to be, quote, picked for another increase in pay. So I don't think this is the worst thing in the world for us. I think it's really bad for the SEC and Big 10 if they want to pick apart the ACC and get more money. So to me, let's just have some unification of how we're doing things within reason. Would love it to be for the money part too, but let's get a structure. Let's all agree to the structure, please. Let's play by similar rules.
Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Josh there. I would like to play by similar rules too. I mean, college football is such a strange sport with just how uneven it is, and it I mean, so many changes in the sport over the years, and the pendulum has swung in wildly different directions from how it was, 15 years ago to the complete opposite, and just the politics within it and everything. So yeah, I mean, I don't think UCF is going to get the quote unquote raise or call up either. So I don't know. I don't know what it means for the future of UCF. It kind of goes back. I mean, we've had similar discussions on the pod here before about future, from when we got into the Big 12 to whenever the next big reorg is. What does that mean for UCF? And we played out a bunch of hypotheticals and different scenarios, but I've kind of always said, I mean, I guess in some respects it all comes down to money and kind of pay to play type of scenario. But I've always, maybe until recently, where I've kind of a little bit jumped off the AD Terry Mahajer bus, but I've always had a lot of faith in the program, maybe not the year-to-year team, whether it's football, basketball, whatever, but just the program. It feels like UCF is really dedicated to the athletics and has made so many strides from being a student in 2007 to now in 2026, and infrastructure and investment and showing that they're dedicated to continue to progress and get to the point where they're recognized as a top athletic program, that I have faith that UCF will do everything in its power to be creative and make sure that they get relevant or stay relevant, however they're viewed now.
Okay.
So that's how
in my current leadership, I don't think there's any creativity going on whatsoever.
Well, that's why I put the caveat.
Zero creativity.
The caveat of Terry Mahajer, but that's why I said I have faith in the program.
It's not just Terry. It's not just Terry. Our presidential leadership as well. Cartwright. I don't see any creativity on the football side. He's a supporter of athletics, don't get me wrong, and he's been poo-pooed lately because of all the cuts that have been going on at UCF, but a lot of that has to do with the preeminence stuff that we invested in and the money being taken away. So, a big part of that is that. That being said, going back to the original thing that I was really asking about, which is, what does it mean for UCF and what does it do? And so I think there's two scenarios that play out here. If the Big Ten, I do think it's being passed. I know MD Knight does not agree with me. He does not think this will be passed. I do think it will be passed. If it is passed, if the Big Ten and the SEC were going to increase their membership at any point for whatever reason, meaning they wanted to grab FSU, they wanted to grab Clemson, they wanted to grab UNC, those schools, I think that hastens the timeline. Now, they also have golden cuffs that are involved with that, right? Meaning the ACC schools, because now the price for exit has been established. They can't go back and fight that in court again. So that may be that barrier for them to do that beforehand. If it does get broken apart, then I think what this does do for UCF is the Big 12 will be stable enough that it will become the third power conference, period. We've been talking about it for a while. We've been joking about it being a P3, not a P4. I do think that that's the case because whether the ACC breaks apart or not, I don't think in the current mainstream that Clemson and FSU are that much better, especially as FSU's program is a complete wreck right now. I think we get an even playing field when it comes to that. So that's what I think will happen. But I do think that they will, if they're forced into this, I do think they will try to make a money grab. At no time will there be even collective bargaining, which is really what needs to fix college football's collective bargaining, at least amongst the power conferences. Michigan's president came out and said that recently because they were trying to push that narrative as well. Came out and said that will not happen. We've worked too long to have a competitive advantage financially. And that tells you everything you need to know, right? Yeah. The Big Ten and the SEC have been doing this since Nebraska left and Missouri left the Big 12 conference. This has been the plan. It's not going to go back to the way it was. We are not going to have an even playing field. And this brings us to MD Knight's point. Let the top 60 to 70 teams break away from the NCAA and reorganize. If this happens now, and they did that, UCF's problem is that our football program is not a top 60 football program. They might be a top 70, I think. But if you look at all the power conferences across the way, 10 is a lot of spots. Could you lose a few of those teams? Yeah. But Duke's been better in football lately, and they're a basketball powerhouse, so they're going to go, right?
Kansas.
If you look, Kansas will definitely go. If you look at our conference, even our conference pecking order, who would they take beyond UCF? Let's ask that question. Who goes below UCF? Is it Colorado? Do you think Colorado gets picked below UCF?
No.
Okay. So who? Let's do this.
Big 12.
Let's do this. Let's go through each school and let's say who gets picked below UCF in a scenario like that. Arizona, above or below UCF?
Before we choose,
Okay.
is basketball weighed in this decision?
Yes, we're talking about a program.
Right?
Probably.
So
Yeah,
probably,
they probably would.
All right, Arizona State,
I don't think so.
I agree.
Baylor,
Does women's basketball count?
I don't think
that's
so.
a hard one.
But I think that's like the same tier as us. But I don't think they would choose them.
I tend to agree depending on are we eliminating
So hold on. Are you saying that they're going to choose us above us or no? Because let's say yes means let's do just yes or no. Yes means they would choose that school above us, and no means they wouldn't. So let's do it again. Arizona.
Yes.
Josh?
Arizona State? Well, Arizona? Yes.
Arizona.
Yes, correct.
Alan?
Over us.
Alan?
Yeah.
Arizona State?
No.
No.
Agree. No.
So they would choose UCF over ASU is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Baylor?
I don't think so, but I think that's a coin flip.
I think they take Baylor.
It depends, but I'm going to say no,
Yeah.
so we can get some of the Sikkim 365 people to debate us.
All right. So is that a yes or no? No, coin flips don't count.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So ASU no, Baylor no, Arizona yes. BYU.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just they have
All right.
They're kind of in the Notre Dame area of
I agree.
national audience.
Bear Kittens.
Cincy?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Colorado.
No.
I think Colorado goes in before us.
I do think a lot of what hinges with them is if Deion Sanders is still their coach. As crazy as it sounds, and they can be horrible, they'll put him on TV.
Well, I will say this. It's a state flagship university, and the way that the Big Ten makes money is by cable networks. So
and Denver, and that's why I'm saying yes. And Colorado has been bad since Rashad Salam, and they're still they had only one season of being pretty good. They aren't like world beaters right now, but they're still it's
they weren't world beaters then. We should have beaten them when we played them. Yeah. But let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Okay,
Alan?
So I think yes.
All right,
Cindy?
so that's no Colorado. We're past Cindy.
No, we're getting taken over Colorado.
All right, so that's 2 yeses, 1 no. The University of Houston empty stadium Cougars.
I think
I think they take them just for basketball. Sadly.
Basketball and Fertitta. I think yes too. I mean that's billionaire
Texas
money.
school, really good at
More
basketball.
billionaires,
It's a Texas school. Yeah.
more billionaires, more residents, more eyeballs. Well, not really more eyeballs because they
don't get more eyeballs than we do. I can tell you that right now.
It would be a basketball grab.
That would be a basketball ad only.
Yeah.
Basketball ad with enough billionaires to make it worth your while. I hate saying yes, but probably yes.
All right, Alan.
Yes.
All right, Kansas Jayhawks.
Yes. They're
Yes.
taking over us.
Yes.
100%.
The Fighting Andrews are in. All right, Kansas State University.
No.
Really?
I'd say 10 years ago. Yeah. I think they've lost some of their cachet.
What have they done? They haven't done anything.
I think they've lost the juice. I'm not going to talk about us that much, but like I think they've lost that juice from like from the time that we had the clouds over the game, clouds over the sky when we were playing them. Like it's just not the same. I'm not saying they're a bad team or a bad.
That was way more than clouds. That was freaking tornado front. Legitimately, Dorothy was looking for to go to with Toto. Like she was gearing up, dude. That was bad.
I still think. I think there's other. We're just doing university by university, but like if you're just taking one university in Kansas, it's going to be Kansas, and therefore we get.
That's not the question.
I know it's not what we're talking about.
So according to you guys, KU fans are going to be happy. KSU fans are going to hate us, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. OSU, Oklahoma State University. Yes or no?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I don't think so. But
I don't. Can we give them a year to see what happens?
No. No, because this act is going to go to Congress here shortly. So
I think no, because they're also they lost their billionaire. The other billionaire in the state has got divorced and gave half his money to a lot of money, $1 billion to his ex-wife. I don't think so. I really don't, and I think that might be hubris, but I don't think so.
All right. So Josh has officially gone through the complete mental calculation with us live on the podcast. Alan, what about you? Yes or no? To OSU.
I like our chances over OSU. I mean, OSU has been worse than us in the Big 12 since we entered. They've been horrible in every sport. Like they've I think they lost a lot of their mojo when Oklahoma.
We broke them when they did the first space game at home. That's when they broke.
Yeah, I mean they've lost a lot in recent years. I don't think they're bringing it. They're in total turmoil right now.
All right.
So.
We've still got 4 schools to go. TCU, Texas Christian, the Horned Frogs, the Techno Stare.
I do like the Hypnotoad. Yes.
Technotoad, the Hypnotoad. Yeah, there we go.
It's Hypnotoad. It's hard because they're like old school underdog world beaters.
The only reason that Baylor made it in, right?
Yeah.
Is because of political reasons, right?
Well, let's think. There's going to be Texas, A&M. What other Texas schools? We said Houston. SMU will probably be in. That's 4.
Well, we haven't gotten to Tech yet,
and they'll probably be in.
Yeah, we'll go.
That's 5. So did we say Baylor?
Nope.
Yes, that was the beginning, but you didn't say they were going to make it.
So we have 5 Texas schools without Baylor, TCU. What other Texas schools are there? Those are the last 2 big time.
UTSA. No.
Yeah, but they're not power schools, so they don't count.
So at what point do you kind of, I don't know.
Where do you pull the ladder?
Yeah,
we pull the ladder wherever the cows are. That's where we pull the ladder. All right. So Tech.
I think they probably would take TCU.
I think it's a tweener, and I think
Alan, you're the tiebreaker. What, Josh? You can't change. You said no at first.
Fine, I'll say no. I'll keep it at a no.
All right, Alan.
I think they take TCU over us.
All right, Tech. Everybody said yes. Alan.
Yeah.
Okay. Utah Utes.
No.
Ooh.
I'm going to go yes for the
Alan?
state. I'm going to say the state school.
That one is, they've been so much better than us in football, but I think we get in over them. I just don't think they offer. There's already BYU in Utah, and I don't know. I just don't think they offer that much. I mean, yeah, they have some brand. No, I'd say UCF over Utah.
All right, the Flying V Burning Couches.
The who?
West Virginia U.
Only because Country Road, it was in the World Cup for so much. Now, I think again, late 90s, early 2000s, no one even thinks about us. That's how much they have changed over the last decade. I think so. I do. Sorry. I think we get in over them. So the answer is no. I forgot we're doing the reverse. I think we get in over them this time.
All right, Alan.
Yeah, I think we get in over them also.
All right, MD Knight says no. So since MD Knight has been playing along, let's go ahead and read his. He says yes to Arizona, yes to BYU, no to Cindy, no to Colorado, yes to the Cougs, yes to KU, yes to KSU, no to Okie State, TCU, yes. Texas Tech, yes. Utah, yes. West Virginia, no. That's his take. My take.
Yeah.
Arizona absolutely will get in.
Yeah.
Arizona State academically is more in line with our mission. So then it's the question of what does their athletics program look like? It's still a hot mess. They are Learfield Cup people, and they're large school. I think if there's a choice, they take Arizona, but not Arizona State. The only thing I'll say for Arizona State is their basketball program might save them. So I'm going to say yes to Arizona. I'm going to say yes to Arizona State. I'm going to say, Baylor's tough. I don't know how much hate there is for Baylor right now. They should be left out after the shenanigans that have been happening at that school. So I'm going to say no to Baylor. Dave Aranda has completely blown up that school. BYU, yes. Cindy, no. Colorado, yes, because they would be the only ones in that state. The Cougs, I would say more likely no to the Cougs, unless it's a basketball program. So if the I think if the Cougs were taken, it would be to the Big Ten, but their academic profile is so crappy. And it's been getting better, but it's still crappy. I don't think they'd take them. Iowa State, no. Kansas, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
K-State, no. Their academic profile isn't any better. It's actually worse than ours. Their acceptance rate is 90%. Plus, their lead podcaster is Cocaine Willie. So I'm just saying, no. I love Cocaine Willie. We've had him on the show. OSU, no. I think the state of their athletics program time has passed them by. TCU, yes. Texas Tech, yes. Utah, yes. Academic profile. And they've invested in their program. The only thing that gives me pause about Utah right now is that they just went and got money. They got $500 million in investment. And both the SEC and the Big Ten hate that. So that would be the only thing that would give me pause about that. West Virginia couch burner U, no, only because of the academic profile. That's my take. They've got a pretty good athletics program. It's consistently good, right? Has it been great since the 2000s? No. But so out of the power programs that are available in the Big 12, you've got 4 or 5 that we're saying would not be taken above UCF, based on both of these. And I agree with MD Knight on this. The argument for the limitation on the Texas schools, we've got Miami, we've got FSU, we got UF, but that's still only 4 versus, if you're including us, right? That's only 4.
I think, and then even North Carolina has a significant amount of schools already too. They've
got Duke, Wake, and NC State, UNC, and I think that's it. I think they've got 4 power schools.
And a much smaller state, generally speaking, than Texas, right? I mean, but both size, population, and honestly, they have other schools that App State competes with them. They're not in, but they compete with them regularly and do well. There's Coastal that has spurts, so it's an intriguing.
I think of those, UNC and Duke may be taken for basketball. NC State is borderline football. They're not going to win any championships. So
they're solid.
I'd rather have Virginia than NC State. Or Virginia Tech, not Virginia. Sorry. I'm sure the Big Ten would rather have Virginia just because of academics.
Your Big Ten, yeah. 100%.
So that's our take on that. So bottom line, I do think this is going to go through. I am worried that if it's between 60 and 70 schools, we would need to do the same thing for the ACC. But according to our snap poll here, we think that there are 4 or 5 power schools that we would be above the cut. So that means we would need at least another 7 ACC schools to be below us for us to make the cut.
I think objectively we'd be a tweener in this situation, and honestly, I do believe that there's a recency bias to some of this. If this is 2018, no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. We don't have the dollar bills that everybody else does. I think we're a ways away from that. I honestly do. I think that, whether it's an SEC school or whether it's the SEC, whether it's an SEC school or a Big Ten school, I don't think we're a candidate for the Big Ten. Our academics aren't where they need to be just yet. For the SEC, they've got Florida. They take Florida State. They would. I think the Big Ten might take Miami. Yeah. But all 3 of those schools would go before us.
Oh,
so
I mean,
So now, if you look at it a different way, there's 16 schools in the Big 12. There's how many in the ACC now? Is there 16 or 18?
14,
I can't remember.
I think it's 16.
It's 16 or 18. I almost want to say it's 18.
It might be with the 18, yeah, because of the SMU and yeah.
Okay, so if there's 18 schools there, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we can do this pretty easily.
Well, there's 32 schools, right? So it's 32 schools. So we are above right now. We're maybe second half of middle.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, if we start looking at ACC schools and we talk about competitiveness in current modern sports, and that's all we're talking about, I'm already seeing about 5 to 7 that we're probably above.
Well, that means what? That depends on what you mean. Do you mean saving the Olympic sports? Because if it's the Olympic sports, then you've got to look at the Learfield Cup, as that's one of the things that they were talking about in this thing too. Is saving the Olympic sports. So I don't know. I still don't think that's. I mean, if we're around 17 out of 32 or 18 out of 32, UCF doesn't get picked up.
Well, the good part about it is if we are talking full Olympics, and we're talking about the ones we have, we can't talk about the 40 other cups that the things that we don't do because we don't have the money for it.
Well, here's the thing, though, and I just thought about this. If you include all the power schools, there's what? How many of us now? Is there 66?
I think it's more. I think it might be 68 now. Now I got a 18, 12, but not Big Ten. It's up there. I don't know.
So based on that metric, if they were keeping in the top 60 schools, we might actually make it in then.
I think we'd make it barely.
Yeah. UCF was 86th rank in the
but we only sponsor 16 sports.
Yes, yet still are in 86 out of 300, 204, something like that. Yeah, like the highest rank is 204. That's share 255 if you're talking Bella Marine. So
so there are 68. I was right.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we for what we do, I'd say pound for pound this year, we probably did pretty darn good. We had a ton of people make NCAA tournaments, but that's the thing. If you're Stanford, I'm sure Stanford's in the top whatever at this point because they sponsor like everything in its mother and they are solid. They're just a solid.
So here's where I think the bottom line is with this. It doesn't matter what Stanford's doing and everybody else. At the bottom line is, are we better than 8 other schools? And we're saying 4 to 5 schools in the Big 12. Are we better than 3 to 5 schools in the ACC? Do we get picked up before them? If that is the case, then the answer is yes. Then it would be better to consolidate and run. Yeah. The good news out of all of this is no matter what, if this goes through and the ACC doesn't break apart, right? Because if they lose schools, then their dollar value goes down. So that means they drop below the $700 million threshold. That means that the Cows, as it stands right now, if there is no movement, the Cows are out. If there is movement, and there's not much movement, not much wiggling in that ACC contract to be below 700 million, then the ACC, they have a chance at the ACC. So if that happens, they do pick apart the ACC before this goes through, which is a distinct possibility, but it would be very expensive. And if the burden is pushed to schools like FSU, that would never happen, right? Because FSU's program doesn't have any money right now. So if that were to happen within that time frame, I think it's more likely to stay the same than it is for anybody to get promoted. But if the ACC does lose schools, and it dips below 700 million, then that would allow the Cows to have a potential life raft. Other than that, they're permanently out. So that is our take on that, which was a very long conversation. But it was kind of cool that we did the straw poll because that was unique.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we had such a great conversation that our fathers are both attending to their kids. The kids loved the conversation. And they're both gone.
Well, it was so contentious that about Baylor that both kids woke up and voted. All right, so last thing on not the last thing on football. Next thing on football, Dean Miller has filed a lawsuit in Orange County, Florida, in the 9th District Court, seeking an injunction against the NCAA to play for UCF. Former Kansas defensive end. He's got a $300,000 NIL offer to play for UCF. He filed a lawsuit locally in Orange County, and now all the Texas Tech fans are saying pulling the Spider-Man memes out and going, right? Yeah. But the reality of it is, it's not the same situation, Texas Tech. This player did not break the rules. They did not gamble across state lines. They are still not understanding that the reason there was so much furor was because this guy bet on his own games. Talking about Brendan Sorsby, right? Yeah. It's not the same deal.
No, that's a whole yeah.
So they're all up in arms. And then you've got Diego from last year that was provided the injunction and was able to play the last year. So, and the last piece of this is, since we do not have a law school, we got stuck with a Florida judge. We do have some lawyers that are UCF judges or are UCF lawyers, but no UCF judges that I know of right now. So do you think this gets passed, and do you think it should be? He should be giving the injunction.
My background is in the legal industry, but as a technologist, so I just pulled up the clerk of the court records, and Madrigal is the judge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is interesting. Now I need to check out. Now I gotta check out attorneys. All right, we got okay. This is the attorney is a 12-year sports attorney, so it seems like there is a profit incentive for both for this to work out. I will say this: when we don't have rules and we don't have standardization, we don't have these things don't come up if you get 5 years to play 5, right? It's clear, it's defined.
Well, that's what this is all about. He's saying, and a certain basketball player was part of this because of the JUCO rules. And so his argument is basically he should be granted relief, and directly pointing to former Vanderbilt and citing Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia as a reason for this. He did play at the College of Canyons, a California junior college that counts towards his Division I status. So he's also arguing that case. So basically, his case stands on, and UCF has very much said, whatever happens in the court system happens in the court system, but you still offered him a $300,000 incentive to go fight this thing, UCF. So you can say that, Timo, but we all know, right? So Timu Terry, that his case basically stands on precedent with Diego Pavia. Him having played in the JUCO league, and we've been down that path before with UCF players, and it did not work out for them, unfortunately. Yeah. So his strongest thing is basically, hey, you've got precedent for this, and you're taking away my ability to get 300,000, and we're playing 5 for 5 now, etc. So again, I'm going to pose the question simply. Yeah. Do you think that he wins this case? And yes.
So
or not wins the case, gets the injunction, because it doesn't matter if he wins the case or not. All he's asking for is the injunction so he can play this year.
So here's the two sides of it. Let's take the Florida politics side of it. UF judge, UF undergrad, our potential student athlete has a UF undergrad with a UF degree. They were probably not in school together because they are 3 years apart, but they might know each other. You have that side of, there's multiple sides of legal. There's that side of legal.
So are you saying the player has a UF degree? Because he played for Kansas before.
No, the player's attorney has a UF degree, and undergrad, and it has a dual undergrad and JD. So the behind the scenes, this might be someone they know and they've had conversations together, is a potential possibility. This is why UCF needs a law school. So there's that side. There's the other side. The NCAA has been defending all these things across the entire country over and over and over again. Not sure if they have any precedent in the state of Florida. I am not an attorney. I think he has a shot between, what's going on and
all he has to do is have someone hold the judge. All they have to do, again, the burden of proof, if you want to talk about that, isn't to win the case. He doesn't even have to make a ruling. All he has to say is, we're going to allow this injunction to stand. You go play your college football. He comes back and drops it. That's 100% what would happen.
Probably.
A win for them is we're granting you the injunction. That's it. They don't even have to litigate the case. So, do I think this probably works in his favor? Probably. So I think
I tend to agree. I mean, the judge has only been on the civil bench for this year. This is a case that I'm not sure has been tried a lot in any of our jurisdictions. It's going to be interesting. But I agree. It's knowing how the court systems work. They're going to the judicial team and the staff attorneys that are supporting the judicial team, depending on how the judge works, they're going to work together and figure out what's the best for what's the right path.
I think they punt I think it's less complicated than that. I think they just punt the football so that they don't have to deal with the case because they know it's going to be dropped anyway. So I think they grant the injunction, let it go, and then they punt the football.
I think you may not be considering how much judges don't necessarily like being in the news in the wrong. So there are some other parts of that.
But they're not in the wrong. All they're doing is granting an injunction. They're saying we're not going to litigate this now. So that gives them the easiest way out.
We'll see what happens. I tend to agree that, I don't know the facts of the case. I haven't seen the documents. I am not an attorney. I feel like there is a good potential there.
All right. So Josh says that the kids weigh in. They say it's going to be granted. So my bet is my flaming hot take of the week is that it will the injunction will be granted, which means we'll have a pretty stout-looking defensive end playing for UCF. What does that say about UCF's confidence in our defensive ends, or is this just a depth piece? That's a whole nother question. But this is a $300,000 depth piece if that's the case. All right, let's talk about the patch, the new patch, the Monster Energy drink patch. What do you think about UCF donning the black and gold with a Monster Energy drink logo with the Big 12?
I just looked at this dude's client list. Sorry, I put something in the chat. Okay, I've only seen an AI mock-up. Have they put the actual patch out yet?
No.
I reserve judgment until I see it with my own two hazel eyes. I will tell you that it's interesting. I love hearing the people who know more than me about this say the Big 12 has devalued the patch by $1 to $2 million because the SEC and others were trying $2 to $4 million on a patch. Look,
Josh Pate came out today and said if you got it for $20 million, that's way too cheap. And I have a tendency to agree here. I don't know what our esteemed commissioner Brett Yormark is supposed to be the shark in negotiations. However, remember, this goes beyond football.
Mm-hmm.
This goes football, basketball, and all other sports. Now, the one caveat I have to all of that is that this does not include the postseason. So we could get an additional amount for the postseason, or negotiate a separate deal with other people.
The question is, what is the real market? And because a lot of this stuff is happening behind the scenes and we don't have good data of what the market is, this might be the market.
I don't think that's the market. And here's why I say I don't think that's the market.
Data. That's what I'm saying.
Well, but listen to me. The reason I don't think it's the market, if it were the regular season football games and that's it, cool. But think about the amount of airtime that they're going to get in every single sport, whether it's softball, whether it's basketball, which is huge in the Big 12. So, Brett Yormark is always talking about how much value there is in Big 12 basketball. I think that would have been a good enough deal because it's only $1 million and a half per team, right? Because you got to split that $20 million by 14. Because guess what? 15. Because the Big 12 conference gets a piece of that too. So if you take that $20 million, right, and you divide it by 15, that's about $1.3 million per team. If that was football only, I'd give it a thumbs up. But the fact that You're going to see that at every single UCF event and every single Big 12 event. I think it's undervalued. In addition to that, think about how much it would cost them to go pay, even on ESPN, pay ESPN or Fox for that same amount of airtime for that product placement, because that's really what it is. It would cost a hell of a lot more money than what they're paying for this. So I think unless our Brett Yormark, and which he may, and because it's very specific that it says that does not include postseason, if he's getting a bigger deal or more money for the postseason, then okay, cool. I'll shut up. And that's the part I don't know. But I think if we're just purely talking about regular season, I think it's an undervalued deal. Remember, I've seen what is paid as of I can tell you what was paid as of 2014 by ESPN for, or what ESPN was paid for these advertising spots and how much it costs. And for the amount of games that are being put out there on the networks that they're being put out there across the Big 12, not just UCF, but the entire Big 12, it's undervalued.
I think what would be really nice is to have if we want to build another business, having a marketplace with having all these values put in there anonymously and being able to sort through it to see if it's actually good might actually elevate the whole. I think the silence on some of this stuff is intriguing. There are definitely other marketplaces and other businesses that share information anonymously, so it can't be colluded.
There's a reason our contracts are negotiated after the big boys, because they raise the bar, which raises the floor. So for TV negotiations, right? That's why ours are timed the way that they are. I'm not sure that we didn't have too much of a first mover advantage there and discounted ourselves because we set the floor, not had it set for us by other deals. So still an extra $1 million in the coffers of UCF, but I think it's a little undervalued unless, with my big asterisk here, unless Brett Yormark comes out with a killer deal for the postseason. So remember, the other thing too is that there's still another opportunity for UCF to sell another patch. There's 2 patch locations that were approved, not just one. There were 2 patch locations that are approved, so UCF can still sell another patch. What gets me is it goes on the field as well. So it's not just that, it's also going on the field and the court. We got better deals on our own for those field logos. So I'm sorry, I think this is a bad deal all the way around, and I'm surprised it got approved. Let's get that roof claim deal back on the horn. All right. Next on the list, Cindy. Speaking of our good friend Sorsby, Cindy has received a letter of investigation from the NCAA. This is all stemming from his gambling and the fact that he was doing that not just at Cincinnati, but his stop before that in Indiana and what they knew. So, Texas Tech has been pushing that narrative for a while now, but Cincy might be getting the band hammer, so to speak. Not truly the band hammer, but getting hit with some fines and some other things, depending on what they uncover. The interesting thing about it is the rumors are that Cindy, the timing was certainly sus with regard to when this came out, because when Sorsby went to Texas Tech, all of a sudden these things came to light. So that may be a double-edged sword, and I can't wish it upon a better school than UC, given all of the history they've had with us and interference and all of the other stuff that's going on there. So something to keep an eye on there. Lastly, let's talk about the stadium. So stadium tours, if you are lucky enough, are now ongoing. So check your inboxes, Night Nation. You may have received an invitation from Terry Mahajer to go visit the stadium and go take a stadium tour. Those are in inboxes this week. Now, what are the caveats on that? it's going to cost money. So if you're not one of the top tier donors, etc., you probably did not get that. Also, the inside of the stadium is not yet complete. The exterior is pretty much done. One of the great things that came back is he did keep his promise with regard to the Natty Champs signage. It is on the side of the stadium. It says 2017 National Champions, and there's more. It's lighted. So no longer is it just a standard block of black against the background. It's a lighted sign. So Terry, have to give credit where credit's due. We all said that should still happen. He promised it would, and he upped it one notch by making a lighted sign. So when you're in the stadium, you will see a 2017 Natty Champions lighted sign. Also, I took some pictures of this, and for those of you that frequent the dungeon, which is, I encourage you to check that out, which is our On 3 Rivals page of the great Brandon Hellwig. I posted pictures there of the stadium lights on at night. So what's happened is there used to be 4 giant light poles with lights that went around the stadium that provided our lighting. All 4 have now been moved to the east side of that stadium. So you get all the lighting that was formerly in the stadium on the east side of the stadium. In addition to that, at the top of the stadium, if you've ever seen North Carolina Stadium or some of the others, there's lighting all the way across the top of the new tower. So on the tower side, there's lights all on the top. On the east side or Cabana side, there are now all 4 light poles are there and are installed. I saw them at night, and they are super, super bright. What'll be interesting to see is the light show, since we've done such a great job of coordinating our light shows since we installed those. Now that we've added more lighting, what is that going to look like? But I can tell you, the times of shadows on the field, they are over, folks. I've seen these lights on, and they are absolutely going to eliminate any shadows on the field at night. So if you ever complained about the lights, that's fixed. As I said, I'm not a huge fan of Terry, but between the lighting of the national championship sign and the lights, he's taking care of business, and I look forward to seeing that this fall. And then, that's it for the stadium. So the stadium's nearing completion. They're just going to do finish work on the inside. Check your inboxes to see if you got a tour or not, and enjoy the light show when it happens. The other, I guess at this point, swiveting to, so let's talk a little bit about basketball. There's not much to talk about except for UCF basketball season tickets have now entered the chat, so check your inboxes. The pricing is pretty competitive. For sideline seats, I think they're $500 a piece for the entire season, which is not bad at all. For the seats that are club seats, which includes dinner, so not the sky or loge seats that are up in the box seats, but the club seats that are across the way, they are I think they're $1,200 for the season, so pretty good. The lower corner seats are $250 a piece for an entire season, so about $14 per game. Well worth it. Who knows what we're going to get out of this team this year, but it doesn't matter to go watch good high-level college Big 12 basketball to get seats at that price. I encourage you to take advantage. It's a good time. I really enjoyed it. And I've had corner seats since, probably 5-10 years. And I'm not there for every game because as most of you know, I live in Santa Rosa Beach, but I do travel back and forth. You can sell those tickets or give them away. It's $10 or $14, folks, per ticket. You can recoup that cost. It's well worth it for the lower bowl. Nowhere else in the Big 12 are you going to get lower bowl tickets for Big 12 basketball other than that. So go support the team, even if you're not there all the time. I encourage you to be there all the time. If you're got an empty seat, make sure you share your seat so you can find someone to fill it. But it's well worth it and very, very cost effective for those seats. So check your inboxes. All right. Let's go ahead and swiv it once again.
Swiv it, and I already renewed my basketball tickets.
All right, good job, Josh. We'll talk a little listener love here. I was trying to find the tab. It's been a hot minute since we've done this. So GSP 342028 says Duke, meaning Duke Watson, is really good. Averaged close to 10 yards a carry his freshman year. Our reply, he is very good, but he was hurt. Word out of camp is he is fully recovered. GSP then responds, Duke is one of the best running backs in the country, I believe, if healthy. I will agree with that. He is shifty. He is fast. He's got good burst, but he's got repaired knees. So we'll see what that looks like on the field. But reports out of camp do say that he's back to full speed. So I'm excited to watch him as well as the other running backs this year, because I do think we have a strong running back room this year. Econ Advisor, our good friend, came back and said 247 had listed as many O-linemen in the portal as were skill players, and the going price for quality O-linemen was mostly below $600K. Why wouldn't UCF buy a couple more, and why is Cushman paid above market? Oof, that's a big question. Cushman is pretty good. We did go get a few more linemen since that post, but $600K when you're dealing with a $20 million budget is pretty expensive, especially when you've got quarterbacks to get. The receiving core is a little light. Well, I wouldn't say light, just unknown. We did bring back some of our pieces from last year, but that's why, because we had to replace an entire O-line. So if you just replaced, let's say, the O-line with backups, you're talking a rotation of probably 8 to 9 different O-linemen that you're bringing in for rotation. And let's say they average, we'll call it an average of what? Maybe 500 or 450,000. Do you think? That's about $4 million. That's 1/5 of your budget going to O-linemen in 1 year. That's why we didn't get as many as we probably did, but I do think we got some good linemen. The biggest question is not talent with line. Line is important as far as talent's concerned, but we've been playing the, hey, you're here a year or two, and that's pretty much who we're going after, people with 2 years of eligibility left. It's going to take a year for them to learn how to play together, and that's the biggest challenge that goes along with that. So it's less, to me, Econ, about how much we spent, but it's how long that they have to gel, because we're pretty much replacing the entire line. And I think that's one thing to watch this year is how well they gel. But they're all experienced. So, we'll see how that affects it. All right, that's it for this week on Listener Love. Thank you for those of you that comment. Make sure if you have any questions for us, obviously ask those of us either through X, or you can put comments on the video and we'll address them the next week. We go through these each and every week. Make sure, we do this for you. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, keep commenting. We appreciate you. All right, Josh, I know you came in late to the chat, but do you have a sometimes funny fact of the week? Because we have no other UCF sports to talk about right now.
No, but I can fill it in with my story of how I met someone in the middle of Europe at UCF, if you want to do that.
Sure, that was a letdown, but yes. Go ahead, Josh.
Look, what happened in the last week of UCF sports? We'll talk about that briefly in a second, and honestly, not a lot. So I was so my trip included going to Paris when it was so cold that we needed to get a sweatshirt for my daughter a week before the heat wave, going on a cruise and doing some traveling in Italy. So on the cruise, I had with me, I like that, I had with me usually a couple of UCF things. Usually some socks, sometimes one shirt. And this was a long enough trip that we
need to increase your wardrobe there, dude. Come on.
Oh, I literally wear
not a real thing. Narf.
Yeah, I do. I can't justify spending $120 on a pretty nice polo.
Dude, you've been a UCF fan for like 75 years. So like before you were born. So like you've got plenty of stuff to wear.
I do, yeah. I have plenty of old stuff. I do need to upgrade my wardrobe. I'll probably do that soon. So anyway, I was on a cruise ship. We were in the middle of the Mediterranean, and I see one on the pool deck, someone with the UCF shirt. So I'm excited to do a Go Knights, and they're walking away because they have headphones on. And then later that night, I'm going to dinner, and in the elevator, I see a younger kid with a UCF polo, and I had a UCF polo, and he's like looking down or whatever. I'm like, "Hey, Go Knights!" And he looks up, he's like, "Charge on!" And we talk in the elevator. The kid is a student at UCF, and we talk about me teaching there, or he might be in one of my classes. I don't know. Found the older gentleman was his dad, and so there's at least
top level professional professor here. I don't know who's in my classes.
No, I that part I can't tell because of the types of levels of students I have, but it was just such a random occurrence in this ship in the middle of the Mediterranean that a father and his kid who's a freshman at UCF are there. They wear their UCF gear. They meet a instructor at UCF on the cruise randomly. It was a very it was awesome. It was fun. And I'll tell you, this is, I mean, other than the fact that every single person in our party that went there, both me, my wife, and the friends we were with, all graduated from UCF too. It's just kind of fun to see those random experiences in the middle of cruise ships, in the middle of France, in the middle of other countries. Actually, I think UCF is trying to do a summer campaign of like, where are your UCF letters in the world this summer? So, yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
All right.
Nice.
I'm seeing more and more of that everywhere. So I guess I'm going to, since we don't have a fun fact of the week or any other UCF sports to talk about.
Short, I would say short other UCF sport, just as an FYI, we got 3 new players on the men's soccer team. I'm not going to get into names, the backgrounds, whatever, but that's literally what has happened in this week other than the football and the media days. That's it. 3 new. Yeah, that's all we got. So
all right. So I'm going to, where I was going with that is I'm going to put the music on for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first time I've ever had to do that. But, thank you guys for welcoming us back. All of you that have been following along, we appreciate that you didn't unsub. And we are going to be back leading up to the football season. Thank you for understanding that we've got children and vacations and all kinds of other fun stuff. We're real people too. We do this for you. But we're back and we're going to have a lot of fun. And what is it? Win or lose, we booze. So we're going to be boozing for sure this football season. Remember to like, subscribe. Well, I'm going to booze either way. Well, like, subscribe, and follow Go Knights and
Charge On. So I think the Knicks made the NBA lose tens of millions of dollars by wiping the floor with the East